Morning, although the bias has turned higher as traders adjust positions ahead of the Thanksgiving long weekend. Canadian markets will be closed Monday for the holiday, while U.S. markets will trade their usual hours. Canola up $2 to $4, November up 4 at $870.90 per ton. Chicago soybeans and soy oil were both weaker overnight, although beans are turning higher. European rapeseed and Malaysian palm oil were also firmer overnight. Solid export demand underpinned canola with weekly exports of just over 300,000 tons, the largest weekly total in 2 years. Farmer deliveries are also increasing, though, bringing commercial stocks up to 1.25 million tons from 1 million last week. In the U.S., soybeans were mixed, with the bias turning higher, while corn and wheat are both up as well. Soybeans were trading to both sides of unchanged. Soy oil still down, but beans up a penny in the November contract at $13.59 per bushel. The USDA releases its monthly supply-demand report next week, Wednesday, and opinions are divided on whether or not yields will be revised higher or lower compared to earlier estimates. Stocks should see an upward tick, though, as the official carry-in numbers were upped last week. The advancing U.S. soybean harvest does remain a bearish influence, but the low Mississippi River levels are causing disruptions to barge traffic, and that's limiting movement. Corn also trading to both sides of unchanged today, but moving higher in sympathy with wheat. December up 4 cents at $6.80 per bushel. Average trade estimates ahead of next week's report call for a small cut to U.S. corn yields, but some market participants still anticipate a bigger crop. Carryout for corn should tighten in any case, given last Friday's downward revision to old crop ending stocks. Wheat futures, they are higher across the board, taking back yesterday's losses. Minneapolis up 12 cents in the December contract at $9.75 per bushel. Kansas City up 12 cents in December at $9.77 per bushel. And Chicago wheat, it's up 8 cents in December at $8.87 per bushel. Tighter U.S. and world stocks are expected in next week's USDA report. Wheat traders continue to follow news out of Ukraine closely, with production in the war-torn country likely to be down by at least 40%, according to the latest reports. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, October 7th. In Winnipeg, for Markets Farm, I'm Phil Franz Workington.
See more and do more in a new 300 Series compact track loader from New Holland. Its industry-leading 360-degree visibility is truly something to see at Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John. With its reverse camera and 8-inch multifunction LCD display, Super Boom lift technology, rock-solid stability, and redesigned controls, you'll work with greater speed, safety, and precision. Maximum productivity starts with a clear view. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today and see how a new 300 Series compact track loader helps you do more.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Welcome to the show. I'm Trey Labossiere. I'll be covering for Dub today, where we are going to be continuing to cover local elections. The city of Fort St. John is set to have a brand new mayor after the current mayor, Lori Ackerman, announced last month that she would not be seeking re-election for a fourth term. Ackerman has been serving as mayor for over 10 years here in Fort St. John. There are 3 candidates looking to fill her shoes, including Shannon Stange and Stephen Labossiere. Stephen unfortunately had a scheduling conflict today and couldn't make it, but later we will speak to Shannon about his platform and plans if elected. But first, we have Lila Hansen, who was voted in as councillor in a 2017 by-election and was re-elected in 2018. She just finished her first full term as city councillor. Lila, welcome to Moose Talks.
Thank you very much, Trey. Pleasure to be here.
So just getting right into it, why did you decide to run for mayor at this year's general election as opposed to rerunning for council after 5 years?
I'm a community champion. I love Fort St. John. I can see the potential that's there. I can see also what we can continue to do that council has started and working with our collaboration and partnership. I want to be mayor. I love Fort St. John.
What are some projects that you are proud of to have been a part of during your time on council?
There's been a lot of great capital projects that we've worked on together with council. We have Festival Plaza. I enjoy going there on almost every weekend during the summer, enjoying the farmers markets. We've done a lot of upgrades to our parks around the city. I love driving by Kin Park to see what's happening down there, as well as various other parks around the community. We're still working on our new RCMP detachment. We just have lots of things going on. I think it's important that we're continually investing in our community and not leaving it so it's one big chunk at the end.
You've called Fort St. John home since the 1970s, have been very active in the community, and have worked with many local organizations, including as the former executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. As a resident going into the by-election, what were some changes you wanted to see as councillor, and did any of those come to fruition during your time on council?
As the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, we had a really good working relationship with the city of Fort St. John, but it's one that I felt that we had to work to reestablish that relationship. So I wanted to make sure that we continued that. One of the great things that I had, it was a privilege to work for the Chamber of Commerce, was being able to network with other communities throughout the province. So instead of having to reinvent the wheel, I could reach out to some of the other chambers, the other communities, to say, here's an issue that we have. What ideas do you have? What worked for you? What kind of potholes should we avoid? Making the same mistakes over. So that was something I wanted to bring, having that collaboration and being able to build those bridges between other organizations.
Do you think the last council helped kind of build some of those bridges over the last 4 years?
I'm really pleased to see what we've been able to do. I'm an alternate on the Peace River Regional District, and just seeing the discussions at the table when we go there to say, here's some ideas that we would like to bring forward, we would like your support, and I've been able to see that around the table.
What are some projects that you are excited to introduce and or continue if elected as mayor?
Ooh, I think one of the hottest items right now is our leisure center, our rec center. We'd like to see it as a multiplex. When we have talked to our residents and stakeholders, sport groups, we need something that has like multiple options. Everything from, in addition to expanding a large swimming pool, we would like to see a gymnasium, something where we can have like a soccer pitch, pickleball, basketball, volleyball. Also, you know, depending how it's structured, we could use that for meeting rooms. Multiplex, it's something that our community, we're definitely getting a lot of support for it, and working with our regional partners. And I think that's another key point. We need to work with our partners in order to have the facility that our residents are asking for.
I know a major topic around the pool too is with PRD users coming to utilize the facilities as well, and kind of them paying for the pool and how that would look. What are your thoughts on that? And, you know, right off the top of your head right now, is there an idea you kind of have that would be the best option for the PRD and the city of Fort St. John?
Right now, we do have a regional district pool, so it is regional now. We'd like to continue that same model going forward. And again, it's about working together. I mean, as the saying goes, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther and have a larger rec center, work together. So I think that we need to, when you're in negotiations or discussions and trying to come up with ideas, you need to, you know, have an honest, open face at the table to say, I want to work on this. And until all those other options are exhausted, you know, you just don't go farther to say, this is my goal. I want to work with you on this. I mean, there are other options, and that's the only prudent way. Staff has prepared some different possibilities. If we're not successful at a referendum with our regional district partners, you know, we could still go ahead with this project, but it would really restrict the size of our complex as well as the amenities we have in there. So it's we are all regional district partners. It doesn't matter if you live in the city of Fort St. John within our boundaries or outside, we are all regional district residents. And I think that there is an appetite for it. Like when I'm out at meetings and other groups or events and the discussion does come up, people are like, yes, I am in favor in this. So I'd be pretty surprised if we couldn't come to some agreement.
I don't know firsthand, but it seems quite clear that the duties of a councillor and a mayor are completely different, with the latter being more time consuming. You see many of the councillors holding different positions in the community or jobs. I know you have held several portfolio positions during your tenure as councillor, on top of being a part of other organizations. How have you prepared yourself for the potential workload as mayor?
I've been fortunate to have had multiple opportunities in the acting mayor role. I've also been able to balance a heavy workload, so it's something that I'm accustomed to. So whether I've been a regional section head with Ministry of Environment or the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, even now as a city councillor, I'm also a business advisor for the province of BC under the Export Navigator program. So the duties and the roles that I take on, they're very complementary to each other. As a business advisor, it gives me the chance to go out and talk to businesses, nonprofit groups. If somebody needs a grant, like, how can I help them expand their business? Because nonprofits are businesses too, in many cases. You know, whether they want to go into Alberta or Australia, how can we cut some of that red tape? And again, it's using those connections and building those bridges to other organizations and government liaisons that I can assist with.
What are some issues and projects, and we did mention the pool, but what are some that are top of mind for you if elected? And so what's the number one challenge that you're looking to tackle if you get the mayoral seat?
I definitely want to continue with our roads, our road work, our infrastructure. That's important. You want to be proactive and stay on top of it, not wait till you have a water line break. I think our residents do appreciate that we do live in a winter city, so when it comes to asphalt and potholes, it's an ongoing effort to keep up on that. But if we have the budget, if we plan in ahead, you need a long-term approach for all of your capital and infrastructure projects, and city staff has to know what is the direction and the priority of council. So laying that out to say, we need to work on our roads, continue with our infrastructure, continue with upgrading our parks. It is wonderful to see when you're out. It doesn't matter if it's winter or summer. Wintertime, Matthews Park, we have the skating ribbon around it. Summertime, just to see our new playgrounds, whether it's behind the Pomeroy Sports Center and now Kin Park.
All the new installations.
That is really just a showcase. Yeah. It is lovely to see what they're doing.
As I mentioned earlier, whoever's voted in as new mayor has some big shoes to fill. How do you think your approach will differ from Lori's, and what are some skills you may have learned from her that you want to potentially utilize going forward, having the, ability that you were close to working with her for the past 5 years?
The importance of collaboration and partnership, definitely. Being able to see what you can do when you work with your community partners and your stakeholders. If there is an issue that's important to our community, being able to have that open dialogue, I think that's really important. Always keeping that communication open.
One big hot topic on the minds of the community members was 100th Street. It's nearing completion. With the downtown core, do you have anything planned for it moving forward, or what you would like to see it look like in the future?
We have at least another 2 years of road work going ahead. It's looking great down there. So we've got the beautiful park benches and our trees. It's what can we do to make it more inviting? And that is one of the roles of a municipality. That is one of our primary roles. How can we attract, retain people coming to our community? And it's about community enhancement. So when we finish on 100th Street, we're looking at doing 100th Avenue. But I do think it's important, because of the timeline of this project and the length for when we started with initial community consultation, I think it's important we go back to the community. Is this still relevant? Did we hear you right? Is this what you still want to see as we go on to 100th Avenue? We need to talk to the businesses. We had a lot of young people that may have been in school when we started the community charrettes and public open houses and discussion. What about the people that are here today?
And in that part of talking with the businesses, does that include during construction as well? Because I know that was brought up a couple times, especially we reported on it through energeticcity.ca. Kind of what are your thoughts on that as well?
I think it's important to continue. We have community ambassadors, we have city staff, they send out newsletters, they do try and stay in touch. We also slowed down the project to make sure that we had access through the back alleys. Some of the residents may have noticed we have paved pavement in the back where we never had before, but we have to make sure that when we are, and we do realize it's an inconvenience, but we do have buy-in and the acknowledgement that we need water and sewer. We can have all the other amenities, but if you don't have water and sewer, people will not be happy.
As we wind down here, Lilia, to the voters listening right now, why should they vote for you?
I'm asking for their vote. I want them to vote for someone that has experience, collaboration, somebody who can show compassion, but also a commitment to finding the solutions that work for our community, for our residents. I think I bring to the table over 20 plus years of government experience between provincial, municipal, Chamber of Commerce. This is a role that you have to be multifaceted. You have to know the issues. It's not one that you can just walk into and then take your time leisurely to learn. You have to have the connections within your community, but also outside, province-wide.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Lilia. I appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for this opportunity.
Awesome. That was Lilia Hansen, who is one of the 3 candidates for mayor of Fort St. John at the upcoming general election. We will be right back to speak with Shannon Stange after this.
Start a career with a trusted, well-established company. Flint Energy Services, a division of Clearstream. Flint is hiring skilled tradespeople in Fort St. John, including journeyman and apprentice pipe fitters, electricians, operators, instrumentation techs, skilled laborers, and more. Immediate opportunities are available for both full-time and part-time at Flint Energy Services, as well as multiple contract opportunities for turnaround work. To view all current opportunities or to apply, visit clearstreamjobs.ca.
If you're the type that would love nothing more than a whole bucket of KFC to yourself, well, we don't blame you. That also probably makes you the type that will love KFC's $10 Mighty Bucket for one, available now for a limited time. It's packed with 2 pieces of original chicken, 2 chicken tenders, individual popcorn chicken, and individual fries, all for just, you guessed it, $10. The $10 Mighty Bucket for one, available now for a limited time at KFC, 100th Street in Fort St. John.
Want to learn more about the dark side of Northeast BC's history? Secrets of the North is a new true crime podcast from edgeXcity.ca focused on our corner of the province. Join hosts Emily Gallen and Spencer Hall as they discuss crimes that took place along the Alaska Highway back when it was being built, plus more recent sprees.
Today's episode is going to take us back to a chilly October day in 1983, when 2 German tourists were traveling across Canada where they met their untimely demise.
Find out more at edgeXcity.ca/secrets.
I'm looking for some light and privacy while minimizing glare.
You want Hunter Douglas roller shades.
I like a dark room while I sleep.
Room darkening blinds and fabrics.
What about an option to reduce heat in the summer?
Hunter Douglas cellular shades. At Alpine Glass Windows and Doors, they have a wide range of Hunter Douglas window treatments and can help you find the perfect style, type, and color for your home. To learn more, see alpinewindows.ca.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Welcome back to Moose Talks. We are here with Shannon Stange, a pastor and business consultant who is running for mayor of Fort St. John. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much.
Getting right into it, you recently returned to Fort St. John, where you grew up. What made you decide that you wanted your first crack at local government to be in the mayor's seat as opposed to council?
Well, my background in leadership and my experience in federal politics and obviously the work I've done with running my own businesses, starting companies, and then leading communities of faith just seemed to be the right mix to provide the leadership that I felt like the city needed.
You have mentioned that you haven't come back as an outsider. You have come back with outside experience. Mm-hmm. I believe you were referring to assisting with political campaigns in Vancouver and your experience helping start churches and businesses. Mm-hmm. What skills from those past experiences do you believe will transfer over if elected as mayor?
Well, obviously my experience starting my own companies and running business for 30 years, that's an obvious, right? So I like to tell people I have a head for business, but a heart for people. And the valuable part of having worked with people for 30 years in the social dimension of a community of faith has really given me the ability to listen to people, the ability to understand maybe unspoken needs that are needed within a community, and to address conflict and help people to navigate becoming a better social society.
Well, this kind of goes with my next question, because I was going to bring up you stating, that you understand the heart of the people, or what the people are about in the city. What are you bringing to the position that potentially makes up for a lack of experience in local government? I know you do have experience with other levels of government, with helping out with certain campaigns. But yeah, if you could just kind of delve into that, what you think we'll bring over there, not being in local government too much.
Well, when I was starting my businesses, as an entrepreneur, you're always launching into a field that you know a little bit about, but not enough to be a big business yet. And so, this is sort of the same thing. You're launching into something where you know enough about it, and you learn as you go. And the skills that I've learned in the years of doing that, I know that I'm going to be able to do that. It's a no-brainer. But when it comes to people, you can learn about how to run a company, you can learn how to run an organization or a city, but it takes decades to learn how to work with people. And that's, I think, the thing that is really the value that I bring to the table. How do you lead collaboratively? How do you listen to people, and how do you help them understand that maybe their needs as part of the bigger society may not be able to be met in the moment, but that your heart is still for them, that you still want to see them succeed in a society that we're building together as a community.
Before you finally handed in your nomination forms to run for mayor, did you talk with residents to see what they wanted in the community, and did that kind of help your decision, or how did that work for you? Have you talked a lot with the residents in the community leading up to, or even during your campaign, and what are they saying?
Yeah, I've had a number of people that I've had very deep connections with over the past 8 years that I've been coming back and forth, taking care of my family, specifically my father. And I talked to them. I said, hey, what do you think? Is this a good idea? But I didn't just stop there. I actually went and I talked to a number of the councillors. I talked to Mayor Laurie Ackerman, and I got their feedback to see whether or not they felt like this was something that would be a good idea for me to pursue. And everywhere I went, in fact, I talked to one of the councillors, said, hey, you should be running for mayor, and if you do, then I'll run for council. But he sort of declined on that, and then once I realized that I was getting all of the green lights from all of the people that I talked to, I just realized, you know what, the city needs what I bring.
So upon your research and talking with residents, what are some projects or issues that you issues that were addressed in the previous council that you are looking to continue? And also, what are some new projects or issues that you look to address?
Well, I've read the official community plan, and we've got a good, it's laying out what we're going to be doing as a city. And maybe we need to look at it and address some of the things in there, but it's a pretty good community plan. And so really taking what has been built already and taking it sort of to the next level. So, love it or hate it, we have downtown that's been revitalized, and I'm not going to get into, whether it should be how many lanes or whatever. But here's the thing about that, is that we now have the infrastructure underneath those streets so that we can actually build a livable city. And a livable city looks like having shopping and retail and new business on a main floor with affordable condos on the floors above. And that, I'm out talking to people on the streets right now, knocking on doors and getting to know people all throughout the community. And quite often I run into a young single person who says, I'm living in my parents' home, or I'm, sort of sharing a house with somebody else, but I really want to buy my own house, but it's I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And so we need to find ways of building housing stock within the community that is suitable for people starting out. But the other thing that I really want to look at is, we need to look at every aspect of society. We need to also consider what has been the impact of not addressing drug addiction and the related homelessness that entails. It's impacted my family significantly, and it's something that I really want to look at.
What do you think you would have to add on to from the previous council to tackle issues such as addiction and to bring more eyes to downtown core? I know those are kind of separate issues, but what would you do in both of those scenarios if elected, running off of the previous council and the work that they'd done in those areas as well?
Well, I think it's making sure that the zoning for the downtown is going to attract businesses that will build those type of buildings. The best way to revitalize a downtown core is to have people living downtown. And that model is one that I think that we can implement here. Now, we've got a lot of land and people say, well, we can just spread the city out. But the reality is that may work for a segment of our society, but there are people who need that smaller space, that need to start out in life. And so zoning, I've got to look at that and make sure that it's going to attract, because we're not going to build those buildings, right? Businesses have to do that. And so is the zoning attracting them? Are the development costs that the city asks for developers to pay, are they in line with what people who run those businesses would want to pay? On the other side of things, with drug addiction related homelessness, that has to be a partnership between Northern Health, social groups, churches, businesses, and the city, where we find a way to solve this problem together. Now, we've got communities like Duncan and Port Alberni who have addressed this. They've actually built little tiny homes that these people who are not ready to go into the Salvation structured living situation. They're still in that place in life where they wouldn't survive or they wouldn't thrive in that environment. They need something other than just a tent, because the reality is that somebody's picking up the tab to put them in hotels during the winter when the tenting season is over, and that's us. And so, if we redirect that money into a structured community where they live together, but they have independence and they have autonomy, that could go a long way to solving that problem.
I know Northern Health has been trying to get an OPS site here in Fort St. John for some time. It's just finding the right building. With that being said, too, you talked about partnerships between stakeholders, other organizations. It's also that talk with residents as well, and that consultation with them, too, and seeing what they want to do as well, right? That's how that would kind of look in those
Everyone's
partnerships.
A stakeholder, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the reality is that I believe that residents would rather have people living in community than in the entranceways of the banks in town where the teller machines are. We have a heart for people as a community, and that's the one thing that I know about the residents and citizens of Fort St. John, is that they really care about one another. And I think that care extends to even those people who are struggling. And I have every reason not to want to help that group of people within our society. They've really impacted my family in a negative way. But rather than being angry about that, I want to actually extend, what I can do to help them, because life has, dealt them some lemons, and it's been hard on them. And so we need to find a way to make. I've said this before. We're either a society as a whole or we're not. There is no fringe, there is no center within our society. We're one. And if we don't know how to live together as one, then we're not really a society.
It's just having those conversations with everyone in the community. The North Peace Leisure Pool has been a big hot topic over the past year, for a couple of years now. But now there's some action being made. Kind of what you know about it, with who's using the pool, the future plans for the pool, and what it might look like. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, anything that we do in that arena needs to be done with the needs of the community at hand. One of the biggest things I am hearing from people as I talk to them is that, and also employers. I went to the job fair just the other day and talked to employers to find out what was the biggest hindrance for them attracting and retaining talent here in this city. And they said it's the lack of facilities for young families. And so we need to make sure that we're building a pool where people don't have to, be there within seconds of the scheduled opening to get their kid into swimming lessons. We need to have facilities for dance and for all sorts of other recreational activities, all within a multiplex complex. And I've heard a little bit of hesitation from the Peace River Regional District. We can't wait around for them to decide whether they're going to be part of that. We need to do it. And so whatever that looks like, there's other ways of funding it if they're not going to be part of that. But it's a high priority because it's the thing that will actually help us as a society build our city.
And my last question here for you, Shannon, to the listeners right now, tell them why they should vote for you in the upcoming election.
Well, my heart is for the city. I love it. I love the people that are here. And I actually look forward to bringing a lot of the ideas that I've gained over the years of working in different levels of our country and the various aspects of business and social ventures that I've done to say, okay, what can we do as a society here in Fort St. John to take some of these ideas and take new approaches, not to change who we are, but to actually improve who we are, to make us that city that people actually want to come to and stay and raise their families. One of the things that I looked at when I was doing some background research for this campaign was I went through some of the documents that the city provides, and I found this study done on high school students here in Fort St. John. And in this survey, 30% of our high school students want to get the heck out of Dodge the minute they graduate. 29%, they're going to stay no matter what. But there are 41% of our high school students that are asking us to give them a reason to stay. They aren't decided. They haven't decided to leave or stay or they're just sort of in that, I don't know what to do. And if we build the type of city that I think that we can do together, I think a lot more of those students are going to say, hey, I'm going to start life out here because I can afford to buy a condo and then eventually buy a house of my own. There's work here, obviously, and so it's a place where I can make money. But there's also the shopping that I need. There's also the amenities that I need in order to enjoy life during a cold, hard winter. And that's the type of city I want to build with the people of this city. And so if you want that type of a city built, then vote Stange for mayor.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Shannon.
It's great to meet you.
That was Shannon Stange, one of the 3 candidates for mayor of Fort St. John. We'll be right back to close out Moose Talks after this.
If you're gearing up for a sheep hunting trip this year, make sure you're well prepared ahead of time with a visit to Backcountry. Not only can they help you find all the proper gear you need to ensure a safe trip, but the crew at Backcountry is ready to answer all your sheep hunting questions. They'll also provide you with expert advice so you'll feel confident and prepared. Get ready for your next sheep hunting adventure with Backcountry, where we help you enjoy the great outdoors. Visit backcountryfsj.com.
Driving Force is your go-to transportation solution. Looking for site-ready work trucks in a moment's notice? They have it. Discover the advantages of short and long-term renting with Driving Force. Visit drivingforce.ca. Driving Force. Now you're getting somewhere.
Is the sun bothering you while driving, hiking, or just in general? Visit the experienced staff at Merwin Optical and find your best fit for sunglasses with or without a prescription. They offer a great selection of glasses and sunglasses for every age, and the second pair is always 50% off. Along with great customer service, they offer 1-hour service on most prescriptions, site testing for adults 19 to 64, and direct billing to all major insurance companies. Visit them on 101st Avenue and see why the families in Fort St. John have been trusting them for their eyewear needs since 1987. People's Choice Award winner for best customer service.
Our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
I want to thank Fort St. John mayoral candidates Lila Hansen and Shannon Stange for stopping by today. Election day is October 15th, so make sure you are registered to vote and check out energeticcity.ca/election for any information you are seeking before heading to the polls. Just also wanted to mention that there are 3 candidates for the mayor's seat here in Fort St. John: Shannon, Lila, and as well Stephen Labossiere, who unfortunately couldn't make it to the show today. Adam Rayburn is the producer of Moose Talks. I'm Trey Laposchinski. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving long weekend.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.